time change. I'm hoping they do away with this one day. You might like it. I don't like it. Anyway, I like the other one. The one in the fall where you get an extra hour. No, you don't think that deal? What's the deal? Let's just leave it alone. Why does the time have to change? Think about it. Why? Really, I mean, we know it's still really, what, 9:30, 9:40? Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're glad you're here. People that want to be in worship are going to show up. Doesn't matter if there's a time change. If you're looking for a reason to not come, there's always a reason. It's too hot, it's too cold, it's too rainy, stayed up too late. You know, and the fair's going on, it's Pioneer Days, it's too close to Christmas, Thanksgiving's in 2 days. There's always some excuse, you know, and they never impress me, and that doesn't matter. You don't have to impress me in any way, shape, or form. But I doubt they impress God a whole lot either. So, you know, show up when you can. Don't let all these kind of excuses keep you away. Sometimes people really can't come. They really are sick, and they really are at work, that sort of thing. But for all of you that are out there watching right now with the blankets up over your head, pull the blankets down there so you can see us. That's better. We're just glad you're watching. We'd love to have you here with us. We miss you. And, but thank you, everybody who's come. We're here to celebrate. We're here to worship Jesus and focus on Him and just enjoy ourselves. So enjoy this time with God because it's special. Announcements very quickly. We are still meeting this Wednesday night. It goes against every, intuition I have because during spring break we don't really see the kids, it seems, and we're also in construction for some time. So, but there will be a service here anyway this Wednesday night because we will have to cancel. Let's see, the next one. We will have to cancel. I think the one following that, or maybe 2 after that, because we'll be rehearsing that night, and almost everybody that does anything here in leadership will be out at the arena. So we're going to hold meetings this Wednesday night. Some of us will not be there. I will not be here, but we will still probably be at the arena. Speaking of which, all right, don't turn down the little volume on your hearing aid or whatever right now. You need to listen closely. We still need help. We do not have the people that we need for Jerusalem Times, and we shouldn't be struggling with that problem. We have other issues that we're struggling with. That one we should be able to put away, but we need some more help. You can still join the cast as a crowd member. You do not have to say lines by yourself or anything like that. We just need people, but we need you here this afternoon at 2:30. Next Sunday at the absolute latest, you can come and be here at 2:30 next Sunday. So please. But I have another thing I need to talk to you about in regard to that. 2 more actually. We begin construction Wednesday. If any of you are available on Wednesday, we will start at 9 o'clock. We'll have some at the warehouse, some at the arena. The warehouse is behind the arena, in case you don't know that. We actually have 5 different locations where we have to move stuff from. We could use anybody, unless you're absolutely physically incapable of any type of work. If you can lift, carry even small things like baskets, we probably have in the neighborhood of 500 baskets. So I mean, people can carry those. Women, you can help if you're not working. There's heavy stuff, and hopefully we'll have some guys there. If you're have not been on the construction crew, we can use you. Don't just listen to what I'm saying and ignore it, because we are facing huge obstacles this year, the likes of which we've never faced. So please, when I tell you this with this kind of intensity, I'm dead serious. We also have another opportunity. Some of you can help out. So listen carefully. We need people, for lack of a better word, in customer service. So the nights of the production, we still do not have greeters. We do not have enough people to park cars. We do not have people to hand out programs. These are jobs that you can do. You could probably even sit in a chair if you needed to when you hand out programs. We don't want our greeters standing, but if you could help with any of those things, please think about it. Don't just sign off and say, I can't do that, because maybe you could. We are out of bodies, so I'm appealing to you. You're the only group I can really talk to because everybody else involved are from other churches. I don't see them except when we are at practice or doing production. So if you could help park cars, if you could help hand out programs, if you could be a greeter, if you could help with wheelchairs. We have a couple of issues with wheelchairs. Sometimes people get there and the person pushing them needs to be in a wheelchair too, really. And so we can just use some people who are willing just to push wheelchairs through Jerusalem and, be about an hour stay in there for you and let them look at everything that's in there and experience everything. So we need people for that as well. I know Julie would appreciate that. She's in charge of wheelchairs. Right, Julie? She goes, I am. Julie's written all over your face. Julie's handled all the, we have beach wheelchairs that we hand out for people who can't get through there in whatever they brought. But they have to be recycled. They're big wheelchairs with oversized tires, kind of off-road beach chairs, but they don't have motors. But they won't go through the sand without any problem. And there are lots of elderly people that come. They've got walkers, things like that. I mean, it's just tough. And so we just need people to make their stay better. Even getting from the car to the arena for some of them is a big problem. So we'll have chairs this year where they can sit down and rest a little bit. We need somebody there just to say, you doing okay? You doing all right? And go in whenever you're ready. And so we need people just to work with the people. So please pray about that. And if you could possibly help in that capacity, come and see me or Diane personally or Melissa. She's sick, not here this morning, but will be here this afternoon. Sick, I guess, but still coming today. Yes, ma'am. It's the entire, it's 6 to 9:30. Most of the people by 9 o'clock have come in. So it's roughly 3 hours. Mike, can you go to power@lightproductions.com? If you need information, because you don't even know the basics, I'm finding people around here on a list. Let me tell you this real carefully. Listen to me. We can look and see the people who are going to our website, where they are from. And Wauchula, Hardin County, is usually down somewhere around 30 or 40 in the line of towns. You would think it would be way at the top, but it never makes the top 10, rarely makes the top 25. And we are advertising, we're posting on Facebook constantly. We're buying ads every day. They go out all over from Orlando to Miami to Tampa. But we're posting here in town. And a lot of you are not sharing the posts like I asked you to please do. How do I know that? It tells us everything. That's not it, Mike. That's one of our other websites, powerandlightproductions.com. We have 4 websites. You need to make sure you get to the right one. We haven't taken the others down because some people still go to those and click the link to the new website, which is actually now not new, it's 4 years old. There's no reason why it should not come up except I can look at it and see that the wrong address is up there, pulling something else up. Make sure you don't grab one of the others that have an extra set of letters in those. You have to type it out.
Do you need Natalie's help, Mike?
Yeah.
more information. That tells you everything you need to know right here about what we're doing, times, what's going to happen, prices, so on. Let's go back, Mike. Hit tickets, that's the little yellow one spinning around. There it is, 3 nights, pick your night. Pick a night, Mike. We're not going to buy a ticket, but so pick a night. There's the prices, adults, seniors, children, kids that are free. Pick the number of tickets, put in your credit card, and you're good to go. You can download the ticket right on your phone or on your computer and print it. If you want, you can just show up with your phone. So anyway, that's how it's done. It's not difficult. And if you need information, just go to that website, powerandlightproductions.com, or ask us. But I mean, you know, it's just right there, and you can read it and see exactly what we're doing. If everybody that has a how many have a Facebook account? Come on. All right. This is why I know that many of you are not sharing our posts. Please, if you get them, you may say, I don't get them. That could be true. That's not us. Facebook has its own mind, and it's out of its mind. Okay? Facebook is out of its mind. So when you think all of your friends see your posts, they don't. Some of them will see it. And different ones will see the next one. So it's kind of, for lack of a better explanation, rotated, you might say. So it's not really, we have 17,000 followers on our website. I would be surprised if 1,000 of them get this when we post it. You know, I don't really know. We have no way of knowing. We have an enormous number of people on our website. Traffic is like 800 people a day. We are still not selling tickets hardly at all. So we need your help locally. Spread the word around here. Some people don't know about it. They're going to miss something really phenomenal that I don't think will ever be repeated, not this one. It's too much of a challenge. So anyway, help us out in that way if you can help in any of those ways. All right? If there's nothing you can do, but you can donate, go to the website, donate to Power Light Productions. That's the best way to do it because it goes directly into our advertising fund on PayPal, which is the best way for that to happen. Because we will be spending still thousands of dollars between now and then to advertise. And it's really today about the only way. We know about Instagram. It's on my Facebook, so we're supposedly on there as well, and we can't do Twitter. It's not that simple. I know there are a few others, but these are the ones where most people are. So that's where we put our effort. Anyway, does anybody have a question? Or comment, Judith?
I just have an idea. I'm going to, in a couple of my past jobs, I've worked with a lot of the RV parks for bell ringing and that stuff. I think I'm going to reach out to them if it's all right with you to see if they're always eager to volunteer. And as far as programs and welcome people,
Yeah.
would that be
Sure.
okay?
I think we're going to get them all today, but we'll see. But you can reach out to them and try to promote it. We have the flyers. We didn't print, 80,000 brochures this year. That just doesn't pay off for us. But we do have flyers in most all the RV parks on their bulletin boards. And I know bulletin boards, you don't look at them in most places, but in the RV parks, they do look at them to find out what's going on in the area. So the word just needs to get around. Anybody else? All right, if we can have our prayer list, Mike. Let's get ourselves ready to head that direction. personal oil packet. And if you'd like to take part, you can just get up and go back there and get one off the table. You're not expected to do this. We encourage it, obviously. That's why we make it available every week. But use this time to talk to the Lord, to pray, and seek Him. We're going to sing and have communion with Him. understand how you love us like you do, Lord, but we do understand what gratitude is. And I pray that everybody here feels that today and knows that we're really very alone and have a very hopeless existence, Lord, without Jesus. But with him, everything is different. Everything is different. You know, today is different, tomorrow is different, the day after that. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us. Help us to focus on where we stand, Lord, where we are with you. Let's just focus on that, Lord. Our concern should be for others more than ourselves. We know that. But in order for us to do that, Lord, we've got to be in the right place with you. Help us to be there. Be there with you. We want to be as close as we possibly can, God. We know that even in our move to be close, we will still be people with flaws and faults, people who make mistakes. And that's okay, God, because that's who you are. You love us in spite of all that. You sent Jesus because of all that. So I pray today, Lord, you would kill all spiritual pride that might be in this room, Lord, in any of us. Kill it. Kill it, God. Help us to know that we all stand before you the same. There's people, Lord, who have the issue of sin. Because that's our nature. That's what we do, Lord, even when we don't want to, like Paul did the things he didn't want to do and didn't do the things he wanted to do. We're no different than that, Lord, many times. We stand before you, forgiven. And we thank you. Help us to enjoy. Help us to live this life, Lord, to enjoy your love and enjoy your presence. Enjoy your friendship and your fellowship, Lord. Enjoy the fact that you are personally involved in our lives. I cannot thank you enough. There are words. Lord, I thank you for everyone who's come. And I pray that they would not leave here this morning without having been touched. And you, Lord, touched by the power of your Spirit. And most of all, will not leave here, Lord, without knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that you love them. You love us, God. You love us with all of our faults and all the dark places in our lives that we still struggle with, Lord, whatever they may be. Thank you. Thank you for that grace, that mercy. When the weight of this world crashes down on you, God will listen to you. When your skies turn really not any, about down to here, literally, and because we were praying and having communion on Friday night, grave sin, and I was asked to leave a church. You can imagine what that's like for an 18-year-old. But I'm grateful to God that it didn't turn me against the church. It just lit my fire even more. I know I was in for a life of, being tossed around, misunderstood, called a communist, called a Satan worshiper, called whatever you want to come up with. Nothing could be any further from the truth. But I always love this little song because it calls God Daddy. Some people might think that's disrespectful, but that's what the word Abba means. It's a very personal, intimate name. In the Jewish world, a kid meant daddy when he said that. We just sing this song as a comfort to one another. It's real simple. It's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, Daddy, hold me tight, Daddy, hold me tight. Pretty simple, isn't it? Just want you to think about that right now, because you have a Father and Daddy in heaven that is holding you. You as his own child. Well, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, Daddy, hold me tight, Daddy, hold me tight. Well, it's alright, it's alright, sing it, it's alright. It's alright, well, it's alright, Daddy, hold she visited that weekend and made that decision for the Lord. But I'm not sure if all the ladies are here, or any of them here. Whichever one of you ladies that were baptized, would you come on up to the front? We got a Bible for you. I'm not sure who's here and who's not today. Are any of them here? Okay, Sherry's here, I think. Oh, Sherry's out of town? Oh, there she is. So close I couldn't see. Sherry had been baptized as a younger person, but she was one of the people that felt she needed to do this over again. So give her a big hand. Well, we'll save these until next Sunday. Hopefully the other girls will be back. We are planning another baptismal service in the near future. I've had, I think, 4 or 5 people tell me that they're interested in being baptized. So, yeah, we're going to do that as soon as we can work that out. But anyway, we're just grateful for you being here this morning. Mike, I think Randy's going to be speaking today. I can't keep preaching during the play season. Normally I stop in January, so I waited till March. But fighting to keep my voice. Anyway, I appreciate these guys stepping in. I think before Randy talks, he's got a video that he wants y'all to watch. So just listen, look up here, and we'll go on from there.
Well, even from the beginning, men hated Jesus. Even though he did nothing but love them and teach them and heal them, they nailed him to a cross. They thought they had killed him, but they only set him free to live in the hearts of people like you and me who believe in him. Then came the apostles, and most of them were killed for telling other people about Jesus. But by that time it was too late. There were hundreds of people who believed in Jesus. So they tortured him and killed him, and they even left their bodies to rot as an example to other people. But the church kept right on growing, watered by the blood of these precious saints.
What, Dad? Did they want to die?
No, they didn't want to die. I mean, many of them had children just like you that they had to leave behind. But they were forced to make a choice. If they could choose to live this one life here on earth and reject Jesus and be damned, or they could choose to believe in the words of Jesus and live forever.
I think I understand.
Here, maybe this will help you understand.
I've heard how Christians long ago were brought before a tyrant's throne. They were told that he would spare their lives if they would renounce the name of Christ. But one by one they chose to die. The Son of God, they would not deny. Like a great angelic choir sing, I can almost hear their voices ring. My pleasure.
My dad could even pray in school. Of course, they took that away from him, and then it became incorrect for us to believe in the Bible. After that, they just stripped our right to worship away from us, and we quietly stood by. But son, I hope that you're never put in a position that you have to choose between your faith and your life. But if you are, I know which choice you're going to make. Because I know that Jesus lives inside of you. In the meantime, just pray like I taught you how to. And take care of your mom. And remember that God is the Father of the fatherless.
It's a privilege every time I get a chance to stand up here and talk to y'all. It feels a little weird being behind the speaker. I might not stay here, I don't know. This time I actually had over a week to get ready to talk this morning, and it's kind of weird having that much time because I had a long time to figure out what exactly God wanted me to say, and sometimes I'm a slow learner, and I had a lot of stuff that was in my head, but there was tension between what I wanted to say and how things all fit together, and I wasn't quite sure what it all was. And finally I realized that what I needed to talk about was that tension. The tension that we have in our lives. There's always going to be tension between what we want to do and what we do, what we prioritize and what we don't. There's always tensions, and we think of tension as being a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing, it just has to be in balance. You know, tension is why we can drive our car on the road and still stop it when we see an accident in front of us, or a dog runs out, or whatever. Without the right amount of tension, it doesn't work. That's why when you get on an icy road, things are bad. Not that we know a lot about that in Florida, but you know, when it rains real hard, kind of the same thing happens. You lose some of that tension that you need in order to control your car. You know, we can float ships made of steel on water because of the surface tension. You got to have that tension, and without it being in the right balance, everything gets messed up. Right? If we didn't have that tension, then the ship is going to sink, and we can't do all the things we do. So there's a lot of tension in our world right now. There's tension in the fact that this video came out a long time ago, obviously by the haircuts you can tell it's probably in the 80s. And you know, there's tension even with the guy who wrote the song, or who performed the song. I don't know if he wrote it. But later on in life, he actually publicly came out against a whole lot of stuff in Christianity. I don't know if he openly turned against God, but he openly involved himself in a lot of sin and a sinful lifestyle. And I don't know if he ever turned away from it or not. I haven't done a history on it. But there's tension there because on one hand, that's a great song and it makes us all think about stuff. And on the other hand, I know the history and the imperfectness of the guy who sang the song. So there's always going to be tension. There's tension with how much we're involved in politics. There's tension with how we balance out the New Testament and the Old Testament. I've got friends who think that us meeting today is, you know, Saturday is the day, is the Lord's Day, and we should meet on Saturday because that's the Sabbath. That's when we're supposed to meet. That's when we're supposed to take the day off. We're not supposed to do any work. But then you got to get into all of the things and defining exactly what work is and how many of these Old Testament laws are we going to follow and which feasts are we going to follow and all that stuff. They can go into a whole lot of, as far as I'm concerned, just kind of stupid stuff, and I don't mean to offend people who think that way, but you can get caught up in a whole lot of stuff that's not really important. But we have to balance it out because we don't just throw out the Old Testament either. Jesus came and he said, I have fulfilled the law of Moses. He didn't put it away. He didn't say I'm destroying it. He just fulfilled it, so now we're not under it anymore. So on one hand, I don't have to worry about how I cleanse myself before I come into the temple to worship God and sacrificing animals to do that and stuff like that. But then at the same time, I can look at other people who I have friends in my life from other religions. I have some Muslim friends who they carry a mat around with them and wash themselves and pray 3 times a day or 4 times a day, whatever it is. They get down and they make a conscious effort to do that. And I look at my own life and I'm saying, well, I don't do that. How lame is that they can do that for something that I don't even think is real, and yet I don't do it for the God that I know that is real. So there's always tensions in life. The movie that Mike mentioned, The Jesus Revolution, was awesome. It was a great movie. I would recommend everybody see it. It makes you think. You think about the tensions that were there at the time, but even that movie brings up more tension because they promote it on Moody Radio, and at the same time there's other preachers on Moody Radio who were against the whole Jesus Revolution in the first place. They preach against it all because the church changed in order to meet the freaks, to put it in their words. And then they're saying that shouldn't have happened that way. But there's a tension and a balance there. There's a balance between, one of the scenes in the movie was about the fact that these people were all coming in barefooted and getting the carpet dirty. And there's a balance between tearing something apart and getting the carpet all dirty versus carpet really doesn't matter because what matters is the people. So there's a balance there. And at the same time, I know some places where people have gone in and they've just done dumb things and destroyed something for no good reason. So you've got to have a balance in everything that we do. We've got to find that balance. And I'm not sure that my job this morning is to stand up here and tell you exactly what the right balance is, but just to help you realize that there is a balance that we need to have. We do face tension and struggle, but that's part of what helps us grow, and that tension is what actually makes us be who we need to be in Christ, is allowing Him to balance out that tension correctly in our life. Sometimes, we can look at things and we can think it's one way and it's not and it's another way. Sometimes we don't know if we're coming or going, and it's hard to figure things out, but we've got to try to balance out the tension in what we're seeing. I don't know if this is going to work on the big screen. Hopefully it does. So if you look at that, and then try to see it go in a different direction, tell me which way is it really going? Sometimes you can look at it from one end to the other, and it looks like it's going a different direction depending on which end you're looking at, right? That's craziness. We're all looking at it, we're looking at the same thing, and we can't figure out what the tension is there. Sometimes it applies to things that we hear. We don't know what we're even listening to sometimes. We think it's one way and it's really something else. This video is kind of small because we had to cover up some inappropriateness on the top of it where somebody made a comment on it they shouldn't have. But when the audio comes on, the green is Green Needle and the red is Brainstorm. You get the audio? If you notice, whichever one you're reading, that's what you're hearing. You want to do it one more time, Mike, the whole thing? So pay attention to either the green or the red, and know that when you're seeing that green, because I know you can't really read it from out there, the green says green needle, and the red says brainstorm, and basically whichever one you're reading, that's what you hear her say. Or you hear the voice. So the audio is the same every time, but depending on which word you're thinking of in your head, you hear it differently, which is kind of crazy. If you didn't get it there, I can send you a link to it later. You can spend hours listening to it at home on your Facebook and close your eyes and try to figure out which one it is. But it's all the same. It just sounds differently according to what we're predispositioned to hear. So a lot of things happened this week in our country around, we went, like I said, I went and saw the movie this week, but then also this week, a couple other really cool things happened that probably a lot of people don't know about because mainstream media didn't want them out there. But Tucker Carlson had on video from January 6th, the terrible assault on our Capitol and all that stuff that you've heard about from the media. Except it really didn't happen that way. The cop that was killed by the fire extinguisher, beaten the head and all that stuff, he was never beaten the head with a fire extinguisher. He didn't die. He was alive on January 6th. He died a day or two later. The 5 other people that were killed, it didn't happen. And he had the actual video footage to show what really happened. And you can tell that what he had was real because a whole lot of senators, including Republicans, they're all part of this whole swamp thing, they stood up on the floor of the Senate and they said how terrible it was that Tucker Carlson was playing these videos from January 6th. That were just unedited videos just showing what actually happened. If they don't want us to see what actually happened, that should tell us right there there's a problem and that they're lying to us and there's something they don't want us to see. So that came out, if you missed that. And then also they had a congressional hearing about the Twitter files. For those of you who don't know what the Twitter files are, it's the fact that when Elon Musk took over Twitter, he was suspicious that they were trying to suppress certain things from being known. Like the fact that ivermectin is a perfectly safe drug that we used to give out in Central America to every woman and child, whether they're pregnant or little kids, whatever. We gave it to everybody. It's safer than Tylenol. There's no issue with it. But if you listen to the mainstream media, they'll tell you it's a terrible, deadly horse pill and it'll kill you if you take too much of it and all this other stuff. It's all a bunch of lies, because of my medical background. But there was a lot of stuff that came out as far as like the COVID injection and all this other stuff. But they had a couple of reporters who broke these stories, and they were before Congress, and they were being attacked. You can guess which side was attacking them. And the attacks were coming out because they were sharing the truth about things. And the thing about it was, these reporters, they said, when they were questioned about it, they said, hey, listen, I voted for the guy that's in office now. I'm a Democrat. I believed everything they told me until I saw these I saw what I saw in these files, and I saw how they were suppressing this stuff, and now I realize that they lied to all of us in America. They lied to us. All right, so we've got the tension between the fact that our government lies to us. I don't know how many of y'all know, a few months ago they came up with stuff and they really figured out that, yeah, JFK really was killed by an inside job. It's not just things in my head now. Oh, the other big one was the Hunter Biden laptop. They've got proof that they knew the whole time. The FBI had the laptop. The whole time they said that they didn't. They said, oh, it's Russian disinformation, blah, blah, blah. They knew it the whole time. They've got emails and stuff. All of this stuff is out there, and so we know they lied to us. So we've got the tension between, I'm a Christian, I don't need to be involved in all those politics, I don't need to get involved in all that messy nastiness, versus the fact that God gave us our country, and we are so blessed to have what we have, and we need to hold on to it. It's like a kid who grows up having so much and doesn't realize what they have, and they just want to throw it all away because they didn't work for it, and they don't understand what it is. I've seen videos on the internet of kids being given a car that was way better than my first car. No offense, Mom and Dad, wherever you're at, but it was way nicer than my first car, and the kid cries and takes a baseball bat out and beats it up because he's upset at it. His parents gave him such a messed up car. That's insane, right? But as Christians, that's what some of us do with our country. We just want to not be involved in any politics. We want to stick our head in the sand. And for some people, that tension is going to be at a different spot, because some of you can't look at the things I've talked about today without it just driving you absolutely insane. I understand that. But some of us, we can look at it, we just choose not to, right? We'd rather lose ourselves in sports or in something else that's out there that really doesn't matter, and we get all caught up in a whole lot of stuff in life. We get sidetracked rather than focusing on the things that are important, on the things that matter. We need to have a break from things. That's true. We've got to have a balance. We've got to balance out that tension. And some of us might be over here on the tension level, and some of us might be over here. It just depends on how God made us and who we are. But we're responsible for as much potential as God has put into us. And we've got to pray for wisdom to know where that limit is. All right? You know, our world has just gotten completely stupid. If, you know, that video is showing about them getting rid of the Bible and stuff, and if we had progressed to this point in life and our government said, hey, you know what, there is really, legally speaking, we're not going to have any difference between men and women anymore. We're just going to have everything be gender neutral according to the law, and we're not going to recognize men and women. We're not going to have official separate bathrooms or anything. We're going to just do it that way. We would be upset about that, but we could understand that, right? That kind of, okay, that's wrong, but that's this crazy mindset that wants to make everything gender neutral, and we're going to go for that. We haven't done that. Our country is completely stupid. We've said that now the best woman there could be is actually a man. How dumb is that? Right? We've gone from instead of saying there's no difference in men and women, we're saying, oh, there's a difference between men and women, and yeah, this man can be a woman, and he's going to be the best woman there is. Isn't that insane? That tells us how dumb it is. I heard a podcast not too long ago from somebody who's not even a Christian, and the point to what he was saying was that Christians and people with half a brain left need to unite against crazy, because our country has just gone completely crazy. And I think that's true. You know, you can't look at what's going on and not realize that we're crazy. You can see what's going on and realize that it just doesn't make any sense, right? If it was a Saturday Night Live spoof 20 years ago, you'd be like, oh, that's completely ridiculous. There is no way that they're going to say that 6'4" dude who's completely intact can swim and change clothes with the girls, and that he's going to win in women's sports. That doesn't make any sense, but yet that's what we said, right? If we just got rid of women's sports altogether, you could say, hey, I disagree with that, but okay, that's just where we're trying to go with things. But we haven't gone there. We've just taken a leap off the stupid bridge, and we're saying that men can actually become women, right? I mean, can I become a dog? Well, some places, I guess, at the schools now, they've actually got what they call furries, and some parents are letting their kids pretend that they're furries at school. I don't know if they use a litter box or what, but it's just, this is where we're at with things. Our society has gone off the deep end, right? I used to think that the tension in the spiritual battle was a tension between the fact that I need to read my Bible more versus the fact that I need to work and earn a living for my family versus the fact that I need to make sure I'm not coveting my neighbor's brand new, F-350 four-wheel drive truck versus, that was the whole spiritual battle, was just my spiritual growth and what I was looking at. And really, I was completely blinded to the real spiritual battle that's out there. Now that I can see things clearly, I'm seeing things, seeing where our government has lied, seeing where all this stuff happened, and I realize that the conspiracy theorists out there think that there's somebody pulling the strings for everything, and that the Masons are in charge of things, or that the Jesuits are pulling it, or the Jewish mafia, or whatever you want to come up with. They've got 100 different theories out there about what's going on and who's pulling the strings in our world and how it's going. And those are all silly, because nobody is big enough to pull all the strings that are being pulled, right? Even a former president is not big enough to pull all the strings. I don't doubt he's pulling some of them even still, but somebody's pulling his strings. And we've got to realize that the spiritual battle, the devil is pulling all the strings here. The devil is the only one that can convince people that men can become women. How dumb is that, right? It's like in the beginning, the devil said to Eve, hey, did God really say? And now he's saying to us, hey, did God really say that makes you a man or that makes you a woman? Those are just stupid questions, right? But yet we've given into them, and we've got to realize how big the spiritual battle is and just how real it is. And there's tension there, and we've got to find out where we're at in that tension. We've got to stand where we stand, and we've got to get serious about our faith. The kids on Wednesday nights, we've looked at some Old Testament stories, and one of the stories we looked at was the story of Lot. And if you remember that story, if you remember a lot about that story, he was Abraham's cousin, and when the angels came to tell Abraham that he was going to have a kid, they looked over and they saw these other cities, and they said, hey, yeah, we're going to go destroy those cities. And Abraham was like, oh, my cousin lives there. Hey, what if I can find 50 people? Will you spare the city? If I can find 50 righteous people. And he went that whole back and forth with the angels, trying to convince God to back off on what he said. And when it came down to it, the angels said, all right, we'll spare Lot and his family. So Lot had made bad choices in life. Lot decided to live his life as close to the world as he could. He was still a God-fearing Jew, or whatever Israel at that point. I'm trying to think of what he was. Anyway, he was one of God's people at that point, right? And he was following what he knew, except he wanted to really enjoy the things of the world, right? He wanted to enjoy the big cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And we can look at that and realize so many of us are there today, right? We want to honor God, and we want to be a Christian and all that stuff. That's great. We want that part of our life, but we also want our other part of our life too, where we can still hang out with our worldly friends, enjoy the things that they enjoy, make jokes that they make, watch things they watch, do the things they do, because there's nothing really wrong with it, right? When you study the story of Lot, he made it out with his family. That's great. Except living that close to the world cost him a lot. But it really did cost him dearly. Because when he left, the angels said, hey, don't look back. What did his wife do? She looked back. She was turned into a pillar of salt. Well, they still got his two daughters, right? So they get out of the city. They're in a cave. Do you know what the next story is? The daughters get their dad drunk and sleep with him so they can have kids by him. And they become the Amorites and the Moabites. And if you remember anything about those two bites, they both fight against the children of God forever in the Bible. It's a bad thing. That all happened because their morals were compromised, because they chose to live too close to the world. And that's where too many of us in the church are right now. We're sitting in the pews today, or maybe we didn't even bother coming to church today, and we haven't been in church in a long time, but we think we're right. We're checking our little box with God. Oh, I read my Bible, or I feel like I love God today. But we're still trying to live in the world and live with the world. And it didn't turn out so good for Lot, and it won't turn out good for us. So we may be falling off too far on that side of the tension, and we need to get back in tune with God and get where He wants us to be with that tension. And the good side about that is if we have gone too far that direction, we know from the scriptures in the book of Hosea, which if you go to all those minor prophets and start reading about it, it's all kinds of stuff about how terrible Israel is and how God's going to destroy them, and it's a lot about God's anger. But there is the part in Hosea where he tells the prophet to go marry a prostitute. And he says, the reason I want you to do that is because that's what Israel is they're a prostitute right now. They're out there doing who knows what with who knows who, and they don't care. And I'm their God, and I want you to go marry this prostitute, make her your wife, because I still love Israel, and I still want her to be my people. And that's what God says to us as Christians. And even when he had gotten her and taken her out of all that stuff and had kids with her, she went back into it again. And so then you know what God told him to do? He said, hey, go buy her back. So he went back, and I can't remember if it was 15 or 25 shekels of silver and some wheat and whatever. He bought her back again. But the thing about it was, when he bought her back, he didn't say, all right, hey, listen, you're going to stay with me, and yeah, you can still run your side business, that's okay. It wasn't like that. He said, hey, listen, I'm buying you back, and you're mine, and you're going to be faithful to me, and I'm going to be faithful to you, and I'm going to love you, and you're going to love me. He could look past all of the past, but she couldn't drag all that stuff into the present and still engage in those things. And that's where the tension is as a Christian, and where things are at with all of the controversy about the Jesus Revolution movie, is they were bringing people to Christ, and that's great. A lot of people were baptized, but hey, did they really know what it meant? Were they really going to live their life that way afterwards? Were they really sincere? Were they changing their ways? And so a lot of them, it took a while for them to really understand what it meant to be a follower of Christ, what that was supposed to look like, but they did grow in their faith. One of the guys that's in the movie, Greg Laurie, he's a preacher, he's got a big church now. Things went great for him. He did well. He may not have realized everything in the beginning, but he gave his heart to God, and he grew with Christ. Another guy in the movie, Lonnie Frisbee, he ended up backsliding, and he actually died of AIDS, I think, or died with AIDS, something like that. He had a long period in his life where he got divorced and went back on drugs and did a lot of bad things. But then in the end, he did finally repent of all of that stuff that he had done. So there's always the tension between how we honor God. Do we honor God by just letting everyone come and by encouraging everyone to come, or do we honor God by accountability and living our life as best we can and following His commandments? Which one is it? The answer is yes. And that's the tension. And that's what's hard to do. And sometimes we want to fall on one side or the other and not realize that it's both. It's all of it. We've got to be accountable to each other. All right? This morning when I came in, Judith was happy because she was here before church started, and I was here before church started, and that was great. But, exactly. The thing about it is, how many of you have said anything to me in the last 6 months about the fact that I'm late for church a lot of times, or that I'm not here 30 minutes early? A few of you have. Most of you don't. You should. All right? Because I should be here. And I'm not saying that you need to beat everybody up who's not here. Somebody that we don't even know or haven't seen in 6 months walks through the door. Hey, don't beat them up and say, oh, nice time to show up, blah, blah, blah. That's not what it's all about. But for those of us who are here on a regular basis and are committed to each other and committed to what's going on, we need to encourage each other. The Bible says iron sharpens iron. If that iron never comes together and strikes each other, it's not going to get sharp, right? They're just going to be two dull things sitting there. But if you put the two together, they can sharpen each other. And I don't know if it's the COVID thing, I don't know if it's just the don't judge me thing or whatever it is, but for some reason we seem to have forgotten about the iron sharpening iron and keeping each other accountable. But we have to do it in love. And that's the other side of the tension, is we've got to do it in love. But let's work on encouraging each other to do the right things. Let's work on being encouraging. If I come up to you and say something to you that I think I'm trying to encourage you to do better, and it hurts your feelings, well then tell me so. Don't just go with hurt feelings and not come back. Say, hey, you hurt my feelings, help me to get better at how I show love, at how I encourage people. That's what I'm saying, is we can all get better at encouraging each other and at keeping ourselves accountable as well. I just think that we're not going to grow as a church until we have those both working right. And it's not just our church, but the church in general. The whole Jesus revolution was about the church growing as a whole, and they needed to have that on both sides. They needed to have everybody coming freely, but they also needed to have everybody really allowing Jesus to change their life. Because that's what the whole thing is about letting Christ change us and make us who we need to be. And as a local church, we need to do that, but as a big church, we need to do that. It's not a coincidence, I don't believe, that as this movie's getting ready to come out, and as we've got all these revelations in the news lately about how the government's lied to us and about how far down things are going on that path, we've got things breaking out at Christian colleges and other colleges around the nation where people are they're going through revival, right? You've got this week-long chapel service. It started and it just didn't end, right? They just kept going, and thousands of people were coming. And then it spread to other campuses on other colleges. It's still going on in places. I don't know everywhere it's fallen out of the news, but if you research it, it's there. It's cool when you see not just how the devil coordinates and pulls his little strings on things, but God's pulling strings too, right? God's working things out. He's working things out in people's lives on a big scale for nationwide and worldwide and all that. He's working it out. But He works it out for us as individuals and individual things in our life too. And we just got to pray for that balance of the tension in our life, and that we will honor him with everything, because if we're not giving him everything, it's as good as giving him nothing. Right? And everything may start, a little bit at a time, because we may not realize quite what everything looks like. If you've ever gotten to the end of the milk, you got a whole bowl of cereal there, and suddenly you realize, oh, there's only this much milk in you. You pour it in there, and it's like, it's not enough. And then you shake it a little bit more, and you get a little bit more out, a little bit more out, a little bit more out, and sometimes maybe you can get enough for the bowl of cereal. Sometimes that's how it is in our life. We don't really realize what we're holding back on. We don't realize what's still left in our jug, but we need to pray that God will show us what we're holding on to in our jug, and give everything up to him and let him have everything. I've got one more thing I want to do before we're done, and I got to grab something from over here. Once we come to Christ, and he makes us new, and we're renewed, we might be kind of like this guitar is. This guitar, I found out this morning, I don't have to even open the case because the top flat was coming right off of it. So this guitar was renewed at one point in life because my grandpa got it for me, and it was an old guitar then, and he put strings on it, and I heard him play it, and it sounded awesome, right? Because he renewed it, and he made it good, and everything was great. This has been in the corner of a corner room of my house for a long time. You can hear how good it sounds. You guys want to listen more? All right, that's awesome, right? It sounds great.
You may be the grandson, but you never have to tell him.
Exactly. And my grandpa told me that, right? Because just to tune this thing up, if I depend on myself, he told me that I'm lost, right? Because he said I'm tone deaf. And that's what the Bible says about all of us as well. It says there's a way that seems right to a man, but it only leads to death. All right? So he bought me an electric tuner, or electronic tuner, so that it would tune the guitar for me. I just had to turn the things a different way to get it. The way you tune a guitar is by putting different amounts of tension in the strings. And the person that knows what they're doing knows the right tension to put in the strings so it will sound good without breaking it. All right? And the person that knows best the tension we need in our life is Christ. So once we've been renewed, we might be like this guitar, that we came to Christ at one point, a long time ago, and then we've just been kind of sitting our Christianity on the shelf, and it's been sitting in the corner, or whatever the case is. And if that's the case, we need to make sure that we allow Christ to make us who he wants us to be, and not just have it as a distant memory sitting somewhere in the corner. Hopefully nobody will trip on that. So we've got to allow him to make us who we need to be, whether we've been a Christian for a long time or a little while. Just like what she did last week, where she said, hey, or a couple weeks ago, I don't know if things are quite right. I want to do it again. I want to start over. I want to make sure it's right this time. Whatever it takes in life, we need to let Christ renew us and fix us and tune us up. And we're going to close with one song, and then I'm done. When you go home, just think about the tension in life and think about the tension that God wants to put on you.
Well, it was battered and scarred in the auction it was hardly worth his while to waste much time on the old violin, but he held it up with a smile. It sure ain't much, but it's all we got left. I guess we ought to sell it too. Now who'll start the beat on the soul violin? Just one more and we'll be through. And then he cried, one, give me $1, we'll make it two. Only $2, we'll make it $3. $3 twice, well that's a good price. But who's got a bid for me? Raise up your hand and don't wait any longer. The auction's about to end. Who's got for just $1 more to bid on the soul violin? back of the crowd, a gray-haired man came forward, picked up the bow. He wiped the dust from the old violin, he tightened up the strings. Then he played out a melody good and sweet, sweet as the angels sing. And then the music stopped. The auctioneer, with a voice that was quiet and low, he said, "What is my bid for this old violin?" Then he held it up with a bow. Then he cried out, "One, give me 1,000, who'll make it 2? Only 2,000, who'll make it 3? 3,000 twice, well, that's a good price. But who's got a bid for me?" The people called out, "What made the change? We don't understand." Then the auctioneer stopped, and he said with a smile, it was the touch of the master's hand. Now you know many a man with a life attitude is better than scarred with sin. And these auctions cheap to a thankless world, much like the old violin. Then the master comes and the foolish crowd, they never understand the worth of a soul and the chains wrought just by the touch of the master's hand. He cried out, "One, give me 1,000, who'll make it 2? Only 2,000, who'll make it 3? 3,000 twice, well, that's a good price. But who's got a bid for me?" The people called out, "What made the change? We don't understand." Then the auctioneer stopped, and he said with a smile, it was the touch of the master's hand. It was the touch of the master's hand. It was the touch of the master's hand.
Thank you so much. I know it's a little late. It's not Randy's fault. My clock up here still says 10 till. I kept looking down at it, thinking, boy, time's moving slow. As I looked at it 3 times, and it was still the same thing. So we ate up a bunch of time. But I'll take just a moment in case anyone needs to come up for prayer.